93 Boxing. I'm back with a quick video. You know, I've been noticing something about the heavyweight division. You have Anthony Joshua, who's mainly calling out. I mean, he's not really mainly calling out, but he rarely mentions Deontay Wilder's name, and I'm fairly sure he's not scared of Deontay Wilder. He did say at one point that internationally, I'd like to fight Deontay Wilder, but in the UK, I'd like to fight Tyson Fury. I'm fairly sure he wants to fight the best, and he wants to challenge himself against the best. You got Tony Bellew, who obviously he said he don't want to fight no Anthony Joshua, but at the heavyweight division, he's likely to fight David Haye in a rematch, and he's likely to fight Joseph Parker. But he's talking about Deontay Wilder. He don't want to fight no Deontay Wilder. When Deontay Wilder came to Sky, people he was right there, and people pretended like he never even existed. People those guys were pretending like as if Deontay Wilder existed only for Tony Bellew, and Tony Bellew ain't gonna fight Deontay Wilder anytime soon. If he does, it's probably like Eddie Hearn put him there just to kind of delay the fight between Joshua and Wilder by putting Tony Bellew in front, like just feeding him to the lion. I can imagine that. But notice how, Deontay Wilder is being avoided, right, for Joshua. Like, Eddie Hearn's trying to avoid Deontay Wilder. But notice how, right, no one, and even there are people that are trying to expose this, right, there are people here in the YTBC trying to say that Deontay Wilder is being avoided by, for Anthony Joshua. But no one seems to mention Luis Ortiz. Have you noticed that? No one seems to mention Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz cannot even get a fight, almost. I think he has to fight bums to get a real fight. I think he fought Dave Allen, who's a borderline bum. I would say, no disrespect to the guy, but on a higher level, he's not there. Luis Ortiz signed up to Eddie Hearn, I think that's a bad move. Or maybe not, because Luis Ortiz is still with the Al Heyman, right? And even though his promoter's Matchroom Promotions, Al Heyman might try help him out, try get the Luis Ortiz fight with someone. I'd like to see Tony Bellew versus Luis Ortiz. All that little shit that he's been talking, he just fell through the crack. Got a big payday. I'd like to see him against Luis Ortiz. That will shut him down. And I like Tony. I think Tony Bellew's a good fighter, man. I don't think he's a bum. Luis Ortiz needs to get a fight, man. And Eddie Hearn's not doing any service to him. He got Dave Allen, whatever. But what the fuck, man? Put Luis Ortiz get him more attention or some shit, man. Luis Ortiz is the most feared man in boxing right now. Literally I personally think he's the most feared man in boxing. This guy's more avoided than Triple G. This guy is more avoided than Triple G. Who wants to fight Luis Ortiz? Andre Ward wanted to fight Triple G. Whether the fight happened or not, Andre Ward did want to fight Triple G. Triple G said anyone from 154 to 168. And then when Andre Ward says, I think the fight was going to happen, they wanted to fight at 168, all of a sudden Triple G didn't want to fight him. Triple G said no, he don't want to fight Canelo either at 155. Why did you mention 168 then? He says he'll only do it for Floyd. Why did you mention 168 then? Floyd is not at 168. There's no one at 168 as big name as Floyd or even Canelo. But you still did it. You still said that shit. Luis Ortiz is a more feared boxer than Triple G. Triple G ever was. Now Triple G, a lot of people were avoiding Triple G for with the belts and stuff. They were just vacating, right? They were letting Triple G have the belts. But Luis Ortiz can't even be in a position where he can demand belts. Really. Luis Ortiz is definitely the more fit. And Luis Ortiz is in a division where I feel like there's more talent out there. I think the heavyweight division has more talent than... maybe not, but... what's in the middleweight, right? On top of my head, I thought of Golovkin, Triple G. Golovkin, Canelo, Danny Jacobs. There's Billy Joe Saunders, who's a decent fighter, but there's a few other maybe. But the heavyweight, there's some names out there. There's some big fighters out there. And Luis Ortiz cannot get hold of any one of those fighters. He cannot. Partly maybe it's because he don't speak English or he don't promote himself that well. I'm fairly sure you can promote yourself without speaking English. Like, I'm fairly sure, but yeah, man. I think Luis Ortiz is definitely the most feared man in boxing. It's kind of unfortunate because I think he's a good fighter, man. His inside game is one of the best in heavyweight division, if not the best right now. He on the inside, if he gets Joshua and Wilder on the inside, he might stop them. Luis Ortiz is a very good fighter on the inside. He's fundamentally sound southpaw. He did have some steroids allegations, but yeah, man. Obviously, if he comes out clean, I'd like to see him. If he has some steroid allegation, obviously, I'd like to see him. Well, technically, I'd like to see cheaters retired, but a lot of cheaters still fight. And I feel like Luis Ortiz, like, he's still going to do VADA testing if the VADA testing is there, right? And I still feel like people will duck him. And Eddie Hearn, right? Look, it's one thing to say, right? This guy's not a big name, so why fight him when he's not a very big name? I understand that. Why would Anthony Joshua fight a Luis Ortiz if Tyson Fury is back and he can fight Tyson Fury, or if Deontay Wilder? Because Deontay Wilder versus Joshua will be a bigger fight. Why would Tony Bellew fight Luis Ortiz if he can fight David Haye again and make the big money? Or Joseph Parker, where Joseph Parker is less of a risk. But Eddie Hearn is supposed to promote Luis Ortiz a lot more than he is right now. I feel like Eddie Hearn's trying to promote Joshua. Him getting Luis Ortiz, I feel like is a smart move on Eddie Hearn's behalf for Joshua. Because now, when you're a promoter, people thought, oh, he went to Matchroom Promotions, he's going to get some shine. And yeah, he probably will later on when Joshua's fucking up. Then Luis Ortiz, Eddie Hearn will probably try. I mean, he's going to try and make his name a little bit bigger than what it was, especially in the UK. But I think he now has more. He's going to make his name a little bit bigger, but now he has control of Luis Ortiz's career, and he won't let him get too big. For the sake of the fans not demanding Luis Ortiz to fight Joshua. I feel like him trying to get Luis Ortiz was a smart move in that behalf, because if it was with someone else, then you never know, it might have been a bit more difficult. But now Eddie Hearn can manage Luis Ortiz to protect Anthony Joshua. And I don't think Anthony Joshua is scared of none of these fighters, man. He just wants to give. I actually think he wants to give the UK fans the best fights that he can give, the biggest fights. And it's not Joshua's fault at all if Luis Ortiz don't fight him. Joshua's he's the one with the 2 belts. I'm happy with him so far. 19 fights, got Klitschko already. I think the rematch will happen if Klitschko agrees to it. He has one of the best resumes in heavyweight boxing currently out of all the active fighters that are in their prime. And Joshua he's not like someone who's old past his prime. So, I'm happy for Joshua. I think he's a good fighter. He's definitely one of the best fighters out there, even with his weaknesses. Everyone has weaknesses. But yeah, man, Luis Ortiz is still the most avoided fighter in boxing. Let me know what you think. 93 Boxing, I'm out. 93 Boxing, I'm back with a quick video.